Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy first day of October. It is the best time of the year. It's basically Halloween every single day in the month of October. I don't make the rules. That's just how it goes. But I'm super excited because last year I filmed my first 31 days of horror video, basically giving you 31 horror movies to watch in the month of October. And I had been wanting to make that video for so long, and last year I finally did, and I loved making it so much that I decided to do a part 2 for this year. And it was a little bit harder because honestly I feel like the list that I made last year was truly a perfect list. This one, I mean, it was a little bit easier honestly because 2022 is such a good year to be a horror fan. There has been so many horror movies that have come out this year and so many that have actually been good. So I thought, why not make another one? I loved doing that video so much, so I decided to do a part 2. I feel like the list that I made last year was so good, but I definitely think that this one, it wasn't too hard to make a new one. Honestly, all I do is watch horror movies, but I had definitely put a little bit more, had to like think about this one a little bit more. But yeah, if you guys are new here and you don't follow me on any of my other platforms or anything, basically Halloween is my entire life, and basically all I watch is horror movies. And over the last couple of years, I feel like a lot of you guys have definitely kept up with my movie recommendations and movie reviews and stuff, and that makes me so happy because that's truly like what I love to do, is watch horror movies, review them, and just give my thoughts on them and stuff. So I love being able to incorporate that on this channel as well. It's obviously really scary to actually like move into like different content and stuff, because I would say 90% of my content on this YouTube channel is makeup, but I love incorporating other things as well. So like I said, I am truly so passionate about horror movies and giving my thoughts and stuff on them. So yeah, if you guys don't have a letterbox, you guys definitely should. It's basically an app where you can review and log all of the movies that you watch. So a lot of you guys actually follow me on there now, which I am so happy about. And I log all of the movies that I watch. I review them on there. So I made the list on Letterboxd, so I'll have that linked down below for you guys. If you guys do have a Letterboxd, you can just look at the list over there as well. I mean, obviously watch this video. And I also have my Halloween Instagram. There's so much info going on right now. I have my Halloween Instagram, and I made a like actual photo list of it. So if you guys want to screenshot it and keep that in your phone and have that list ready for you to watch whatever you want to watch in this month of October. I'll link my Letterboxd and stuff down below if you guys want to follow me over there, and my Halloween Instagram, because those are like my two little passion. Love like spending time on there so much. Basically, these aren't like the scariest movies I've ever seen or anything. These movies are basically what put me in the Halloween feeling, in the Halloween mood. So they're not all necessarily like super scary or like the best movies ever. It's mainly just like giving me that Halloween feeling, and like movies that I love to just like put on. Those freaking Pillsbury pumpkin cookies, which are my absolute favorite. Like have that, watching this movie, putting that on, and like being with like my boyfriend or with my friends and just like all watching that together. It's like one of those movies, like a lot of times they're mostly fun movies because I love watching those with my friends. But there is one movie on here that's one of the most like scariest movies I've ever seen, so I have that list. But yeah, if you didn't see my video last year, I'll link that video down below for you as well, or I'll put it up here, wherever. If you didn't see that one and you think I may have missed a few movies in this video, make sure to check that one out, because I feel like that list is like, I would frame that list truly. Enough of me rambling. This is probably gonna be a long video because there are 31 movies. So I'll try not to go too in-depth about each movie, so this video isn't like 3 hours long, but grab a snack, grab some coffee. I have my little ghost mug right here with some coffee. I have pumpkin coffee right now. Get in the little Halloween spirit, and let's just go ahead and get into it. This is in no specific order, except for like the first one maybe, but other than that, this is in no specific order. I literally just like made a list and put it together. But okay, so the first movie, I'm gonna move over here so I can put the little like pictures of the movies and stuff on this side. But the first movie that I have is Rosemary's Baby, and this is truly my favorite like classic horror movie. This came out in 1968. We will not be talking about the director. I do not claim that. I like to pretend that this movie does not have a director. I like to pretend that this movie is not affiliated with the director at all, because this movie is truly a masterpiece. I love this movie so much, and it's truly one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember seeing this when I was really little. I mentioned this in my last video. My mom showed me a lot of horror movies when I was younger, so that may be why I only watch horror movies now. But I remember watching this as a little kid, and it truly like was one of those movies that I remembered so much, and like it stuck with me for so long. And this is truly, in my opinion, a horror masterpiece. I know I joke around a lot and say like, oh, this movie's a masterpiece, but this is truly a masterpiece. I just showed my boyfriend this movie for the first time the other day, and he was like, wow, that was so good. And it's so crazy how much influence this movie has on so many other horror movies. When you watch it, you can see how many movies from after this took influence from this movie, and it's just incredible. It's truly a 10 out of 10 for me. It is fantastic. If you have never seen this movie, please watch it and make this like if you're gonna watch any movie on this list, make this movie the movie that you watch, because it is so good. Many have tried to make movies like this after, and none of them will ever be as good as this. My favorite movie of all time, Hereditary, has definitely had so much influence from this movie as well, which is probably why Hereditary is like my favorite movie. But yeah, love this one so much. Like I said earlier, 2022 is a great year to be a horror fan. We have been eating this year. There's so many good horror movies that actually came out. I'm truly shocked. It's like we were in a drought for the last couple of years. I feel like the last couple of years we were not getting anything. But one of my favorite movies now to ever exist came out this year, and I had to put it on this list. I'm sure this will be no surprise to you guys, because I have not shut up about it since it came out, and that is X. This is directed by Ty West. I cannot put into words how much I absolutely love this movie. It is everything I could ever ask for in a horror movie. I did not think we would get a slasher movie this good in the year 2022. And yes, it's an A24 movie, and yes, Kid Cudi is in it, and I'm not being biased, I promise. Although when I did hear that A24 was coming out with a new horror movie and Kid Cudi was in it, I almost about collapsed, and I was like, please be good. And wow, what a pleasant surprise when I saw this in the movies. I have seen it now, I think I saw it 3 or 4 times in the theaters. I can't remember. I actually saw it with Kid Cudi. Shout out to Cudi. You guys know, if you follow me, I always go to those little screenings that Cudi has, and I was so happy that he did one for X. But this is basically a slasher film. I will not go too much into it. I'm sure most people have seen it already, because it's definitely gotten a lot of hype over the last couple months. But I was seated day one, and I don't know if I posted it yet by the time I upload this video, but I'm posting my first Halloween look today on Instagram, and it may or may not be from this movie. And I've had this planned since the day I saw this freaking movie. What day did I see this movie? I need to look. I have my first review. March 17th. I have had this freaking Halloween look planned since March 17th, and I know I've seen a million people do it already, but I didn't even care, because I was like, I need to have this as my first Halloween look. Also, Gigi is making a little special appearance over here. Gigi's here at my house right now. But yeah. X, it's incredible. Yes, Pearl also just came out as well. Also, if you guys don't know, X came out in March, and then at the end of the credits of X, it showed a little teaser for the next movie, Pearl, which is a prequel, and it was already shot and filmed. I actually went to an early screening months ago to go see Pearl right after X, and I was in love. Pearl just came out in theaters a couple weeks ago, and it's definitely, I'm gonna not put it on this list because I don't really consider it that much of a horror movie, and more so just like a psycho drama almost. Now we're getting Maxine. It is the 3rd movie of this trilogy, and I never want this trilogy to end. The way that they had shot and already filmed both movies, I don't know if Maxine is already filmed as well. I don't think so, because they're doing like a casting call for it, but I'm just like obsessed with the way Ty West and Mia Goth and everyone in this movie had just like filmed and shot and like had it out, and like by the time the X came out, Pearl was already done. Like I just like can't get over the rollout for this movie, and it's truly been such a pleasure to be there seated for both movies already, and like it definitely has made it. It had to be on this list. Everything Everywhere All at Once is still my #1 movie of 2022, but X is #2. I promise not to ramble on about the rest of the movies. I already know that that was a lot, but I had to give my thoughts on X because it truly is like my favorite movie of the year. Horror movie of the year. Okay, next, moving on. I don't know how I didn't put this in my first video. I had to like recheck my list like 3 times. I was like, I didn't put this in there. Saw, specifically Saw 3. It's my favorite horror franchise of all time. Again, I don't know how I didn't put this in the first video. I'm honestly like dumbfounded. Like, what is wrong with me? But Saw is my favorite horror franchise ever. And Saw 3 is like truly a perfect like Saw movie. all of the, not all of the Saw movies, but specifically Saw 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are really, really great. The ones after that have been like, you know, they're Saw movies, but specifically the first 4 and Saw 3 in particularly are great, and I have to watch this every single Halloween. Not even just Halloween, I watch this all the time, but it's definitely a Halloween must. Okay, next movie is Silent Hill. This came out in 2006, and I remember when it came out, this movie honestly scared the shit out of me. The nurses still, like, it creeped me out so much, but this is such a good, like, horror movie. One of those movies that came out in, like, the mid-2000s. Again, I grew up in the mid-2000s, so, like, you can see where my taste lies, but Silent Hill is definitely like one of those great movies that no matter like how long it's been, it's still always really good. I don't know if this is like a divide between people if like you like Silent Hill or not. I've always thought it was really great, and I think it's very creepy. And yeah, I had to include it on the list. It definitely puts me in like the Halloween mood. Okay, next movie, honestly, I should have put this in the last one, but it definitely grew on me. At first when I saw it, I was like, that was a movie. I liked it, but now as like time has gone on, it's definitely one of those just like I need to put this on every Halloween now, and that is Malignant. This came out last year. It is directed by James Wan. I love James Wan. I don't care. I think James Wan definitely, like, you know when you're watching one of his movies. And this is just batshit crazy, and I absolutely love it. It's definitely a little bit slower in the beginning, but there is just, when you get to this one part, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It just is like nonstop fucking craziness, and I absolutely love it. It's definitely, it's a fun one. It's a fun movie for sure. It's not scary by any means. It's a horror movie. It's like a fun horror movie. It's definitely crazy. I didn't put this on this list either, but it just came out. And Barbarian, if you have not seen Barbarian, please go watch it. It just came out in theaters. And it gives me the same vibes as Malignant. It's not the same storyline or plot or anything at all, but they're both just so batshit crazy that like they give me the, like, I feel like Barbarian is like the 2022's Malignant. But yeah, Malignant's definitely one on this list. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It is such a fun ass horror movie. Okay, next movie, and this, I don't know why I didn't put this on my first list either, because I literally mentioned it, but I didn't put it on the list. The Sixth Sense. This came out in 1999. And this is the first horror movie I ever saw in theaters. I very specifically remember being at the theaters when I was 4 years old. It's either this, I go back and forth, I never know which one it is, if it's either this or Phantom Menace being the first movie I ever saw in theaters. I think it was Phantom Menace, just looking back at the dates, but both of those, like, this was the first, like, one of the first movies I ever saw in theaters, and it is definitely a scary one. It's not like, now watching it back, I'm like, oh, it's not like scary, but could you imagine seeing this shit when you were 4 years old? Like, hello? But it is definitely such a good horror movie. This is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and I know a lot of people have like their thoughts on him. I think he's like a hit or miss, but like the older movies, chef's kiss. This is great, and a great horror movie. If you're one of those, like, you must see this if you've never seen it, you know. Next movie, I actually hated this movie when it first came out, and I never rewatched it because I was like, I'm not watching this shit again. It is Ready or Not. This came out in 2019. I remember seeing it in theaters. I remember everyone was hyping this movie up so much, so I kind of had high expectations when I went into the movie. I had watched it, I was like, well, okay. And I hadn't watched it since, but I've just rewatched it recently with my friends and stuff, and now that I'm watching, I'm like, okay, that's actually really good. When I didn't have like high expectations going in, just like a fun rewatch, it's definitely a fun horror. It's actually really good. It's really, really good. I definitely like was a hater at first, but now that, you know, a couple years have gone by and I rewatched it, it's actually really, really good. I also quickly mentioned this in my video last year, but I didn't put it on that list, so I'm putting it on this one, and that is Lords of Salem. It's directed by Rob Zombie. Like I've said before, you either love or you hate Rob Zombie movies. I absolutely love them. Rob Zombie movies are definitely like my taste, and I definitely like, it's right up my alley, so I usually, like 9 out of 10, usually like all of Rob Zombie stuff. So Lords of Salem is definitely like, I feel like that's probably one of like his scarier movies. It's not like super scary, but it's definitely giving Rosemary's Baby. It kind of, you can definitely see the influence that Rosemary's Baby put onto this movie. I love this one so much. It is so good. I just rewatched it the other day. I showed my boyfriend it for the first time, and he actually really liked it too, and he's super picky with horror movies, so this one is really good. There is one scene that has stuck with me. I remember when I first watched it, I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it like right after it came out in 2012, and there's like this one scene that just like grosses me out. Like, I hate it. Like, I hate looking at it, but I love the movie. Really love this. Probably not be for everyone. Like I said, it's a very Rob Zombie movie, so if you don't like those type of movies, you probably won't like it. But it is one of my faves, and I think it is really, really good. Okay, next, I've definitely gone back and forth with putting these movies in here or not. They're absolutely my favorites of all time. It's just, I don't know if they give me like the horror, like Halloween vibe, you know? But I'm gonna put Us on this list because I feel like out of the 3 Jordan Peele movies, Us is more a Halloween vibe than Get Out and Nope. I love Nope, by the way. Nope is definitely my top of this year. But it doesn't give me like the Halloween vibes. It's definitely like creepy, and there's one scene in Nope that scares the shit out of me. I'm like, no. But Get Out doesn't feel like a regular horror movie to put it on like a Halloween list, you know, but Get Out is still Jordan Peele's best movie and truly one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's more like a real life horror, you know, where Us definitely is like the same. They all kind of have like that social commentary background of it, but Us definitely like gives me more of like a, I want to put this on with like Halloween stuff, you know, it puts me more in the Halloween mood and vibe than Get Out and Nope. So I'm putting Us on here. I love Us though, like don't get me wrong, Us is one of my favorites. I watched this movie I think 6 times in theaters. I don't know how many times I saw it, but I saw it so much, and it's definitely my most rewatched Jordan Peele movie too. I always watch this, like when I just want to like throw something on in the background and like watch a scary movie or something, I put Us on a lot. So I had to put it on this list. It is so good, and every single time I watch it, I love it even more. Okay, next movie is Tusk. This is directed by Kevin Smith, so you can put those 2 things together. This is an A24 movie, and truly, I remember the first time I saw this, and I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? And now it is definitely a classic in my household. I love watching this now. It's definitely, if you don't know the premise of this movie, please go in blind, but now when I rewatch it, I'm just like, this is so fun. Like, I love this movie. It's so gross, and the scene of like I said, if you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but if you've seen it, then you know, like that one initial scene of Justin Long, by the way, Justin Long is in here. Justin Long, I will watch anything you are in. I love Justin Long so much. But Justin Long is in here, and that first initial scene of Justin Long in the movie, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I was sick. And that like image is stuck in my head forever, but now I love rewatching this movie. It is so fun, and this is definitely a Halloween must in my household. And it's definitely like, I feel like after the second watch, it's like, okay, you know what, I can watch this, because I was like, the first time I watched it, I was like, I'm never watching that shit again. But now I'm watching it, I love watching it, and it's just like a fun horror movie. Next movie, this came out this year, and again, 2022, we are eating up all of the horror movies. It came out in August. I actually went to an early screening for this one as well, so I saw it a couple months ago, and it's fantastic. And this is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is another A24 movie, and it is just so fun. It's definitely not scary. There are some like scary moments in it, like jump scares and stuff, but it's a fun ass horror movie. It's my best description of this is a Gen Z modern whodunit, and that is like the best way I can describe this movie. Pete Davidson is in it, so that was enough for me to get seated in the theater. But I was so excited. Like I will watch all the A24 movies. A24, you guys already know, but the cast is so good. I love this entire cast so much. Rachel Sennett, You Will Always Be Famous. This is such a good, fun-ass horror movie, and you're either gonna like it or you're not. Girls who get it, and the girls who don't, I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely going to be one of those every year Halloween must watches, and I'm so excited. This was such a fun movie. Next, I mentioned the first Scream in my last video, so I had to include Scream 4 because it is the best Scream movie besides the original, and I love Scream 4 so much. So I needed it to have its own spot on this year's list. So if you've never seen Scream 4, obviously please watch all of the Screams. Scream 3 is not my favorite, or the new Scream. But Scream 4, like I said, it's the best one next to the original, if not equally as good as the original. It came out in 2011. You can put the pieces together. The cast is very 2011, and I love it so much. Hayden Panettiere in this movie is coming back in Scream, the new Scream next year, and I almost about lost my shit when I found that out. So, but yeah, this cast is incredible. Emma Roberts as Jill. Hayden Panettiere as Kirby. Adam Brody is in here. Okay, so next movie is Sleepaway Camp. I don't know how it took me so long to watch this movie. I watched it for the first time last year, and this is so great. This came out in 1983, and it is probably one of my favorite 80s horror movies. The ending of this movie is truly so, like, creepy, and like it gives me chills every single time. But I love this movie. It's definitely like the definition of like an 80s horror movie. It's some of the dialogue, it's like okay, but just the ending and like the buildup of everything is so good, so good, and I love movies like this. This is another movie that I hated, but now it's more of like a nostalgic and comforting thing for me. This is actually one of my mom's favorite horror movies, and she would watch it constantly. Like, I'm like once a week, I'm like, girl, are you watching that again? And I just did not like it. I was like, this is trash. And Anthony watched it again recently, and I hadn't seen it in like a while, especially because they were like reminding me of my mom, so I was like, I don't really want to watch it. But I was like in one of those moods where I was like, you know, let me put on like a movie that like reminds me of my mom. This is directed by Sam Raimi. It's a very Sam Raimi movie, and this shit is so fun. It's like a fun ass movie. There are like some jump scares in here that are just so funny. And yeah, it's definitely a Sam Raimi type of movie. It's so fun, and now it like puts me in a good mood, and it reminds me of my mom when like I used to like despise this movie, but now I'm like, you know what? It's camp. It's camp. It's definitely camp. And this is like one of those like put on during Halloween, if not on Halloween itself, because it's just so fucking insane and like just wild. But yeah, it's camp. And I get it now. Okay, next is VHS. This came out in 2012. A horror anthology type of movie. So there are three or four different stories in the movie? I can't remember. I think it's three. At least three that I remember specifically. And this is like one of those movies that I definitely like to put on with like a group of people and like watch something scary and like, you know, bake some cookies, one of those like type of nights. I love that. It just puts me in like the like horror movie mood, and it's really good. This one is definitely my favorite. There's a couple of VHSs. One came out last year, that one was not good. But the original VHS itself is very good, and I love it. Another movie that came out this year, I'm telling you, 2022 had nothing but smashes. The Black Phone. If you like Sinister, you will probably like this movie. It's directed by Scott Derrickson, who did Sinister, and Ethan Hawke is in this movie as well. As James Ranson, I think that's his name. He was also in Sinister, and I just love that he kind of like uses the same actors. But this movie was actually a pleasant surprise. I was really excited, and it was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I was so pleasantly surprised by this. This was great. Very good. The kid actors in here are fantastic, and this is definitely going in like my top movies of 2022. It is so good. I don't know if it's already streaming or like available to like buy digitally or whatnot, but if you can, please watch it. I don't know if it's still in theaters either, but it's definitely a fun theater experience as well. But this is genuinely creepy, and there's like a couple scenes in here that like scared the shit out of me. So next movie. This movie is not good by any means. It is terrible, but it's so fun, and I love watching this with a group of people. And this is Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy is my favorite slasher of all time. This came out in 2003, and it is a 2003 movie. Like I said, this is not a good movie by any means. I am very aware. It is so bad, but it's so bad that it's good now. And it is like, I watched this the other day with my boyfriend and Anthony, and like, it was just so fun. Like, so fun. This is definitely like one of those movies that like want to bring out like the wine and cookies and just have one of those kind of nights and just laugh my ass off because it's so bad. But I had to include it in here because it's a fun Halloween movie, and just like the dynamic between Freddy and Jason is so fun. Okay, I don't know how I didn't put this on the first list, but I'm putting it on here, and that is Jennifer's Body. Classic. Need I say more? This is chef's kiss. Megan Fox as Jennifer Check. Amazing. I absolutely love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I'm gonna go too in depth in this movie. I'm sure pretty much everyone has seen this at this point, but if you haven't, what are you doing? And it's just, I'm glad. I remember like everyone hated this movie when it came out. Not me though. Not me. Let's get that clear. Not me. I have been a stan of this freaking movie since day one, but I'm glad everyone is coming to appreciate it now, and it's definitely gone down as like a cult classic and has a very strong cult following now. I did Jennifer for a Halloween look 2 years ago, I think, and it's one of my favorite looks that I ever did for Halloween, so Had to include it in here, had to be on this list. Next movie, there is a divide with this movie. You either love it or you hate it. I love it. The Mist. 2007 classic. I'm so sorry. I love this movie. The ending of this movie is genuinely so fucked up. Like, I remember the first time I watched this and the ending, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, you're joking. Like, holy shit. Love watching. It's like, I love watching this movie. It's a delight every single time. So I had to put it on this list. It's so great. I'm just saying the director is the same director as Shawshank, so you could do with that as you will. Okay, next movie is Host. Came out in the midst of 2020. Peak quarantine, which is scary in itself. This is a horror movie that came out during COVID time that is about COVID, quarantine. It's all filmed on Zoom, like a Zoom call, which is insane. This movie actually did scare me. Like, it has really good jump scares, so like where I jump every single time I watch it. It is such a good horror movie, and for it just being filmed on Zoom is insane. This movie's only 57 minutes long. I wish more movies would be this short sometimes. Like, some movies are just unnecessarily long for some reason, and I'm just like, can we wrap it up? 57 minutes of perfection. This is a great horror movie, and watching this peak quarantine time about a movie during quarantine was scary as shit in itself. Okay, Gigi has made her way closer into this video now, but moving on. So next movie is Halloween 2018. I recently rewatched this. I hadn't seen it in like a while, probably since like around the same time that it came out. I watched it in theaters and then I watched it again like after it came out, but I rewatched it last month. I forgot how good this movie is. Like, it is great. What a way to come back for Halloween. This is great. I, however, don't like Halloween Kills. No. But this one itself is so good. I have now put all the Halloweens on my list because I do love Halloween so much, and I do think the 2018 one is very, very good and a good way to come back and bring Laurie back and everything. And I am excited for Halloween Ends, even though I didn't like Halloween Kills, but you know, we gotta finish the trilogy here, and I am sad that the trilogy is about to end because I do love Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie and I love seeing her like come back and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited. I will be seated for the new one, but 2018 is great, and the gore in here is so good. I love it. Okay, so next movie, like I said, Freddy is my favorite slasher. In my last video, I put Dream Warriors in there. I do, however, like, I love all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. The first one is obviously one of my favorites as well, but Dream Warriors specifically is my favorite. But I had to include New Nightmare on this list because it is just so good. I remember watching this as a kid and I loved it. Kind of like if Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street had a baby. This one is very different than the rest of them though. Like, everyone plays themselves. Heather is playing herself. Robert Englund plays himself. Wes Craven plays himself. So it's definitely very meta. It's very self-aware. It's about Heather being Nancy and stuff. So it's very fun. Also, Gage from Pet Sematary is in this movie as well, and he is just so scary. I love that little kid. I mean, I know he's not a kid anymore, but when he was a kid in this movie, I love him as a kid. Next is Devil's Rejects. I put House of a Thousand Corpses on my first list because that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I also did mention like Devil's Rejects, but I wanted to put it on this list. If you haven't seen House of a Thousand Corpses, please watch it. This is the sequel to it, and Devil's Rejects is just, it's so much different than House of a Thousand Corpses. I do think Devil's Rejects is a better movie, although I do like Thousand Corpses more. I think Devil's Rejects is the better one. It's just a lot different, and this has one of my favorite endings of all time. This one is just, it's a classic. Again, I love Rob Zombie movies, and House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects are like perfection. Yeah, I had to include it on this list because it's definitely a Halloween watch every single year. Next movie, this one is more of a psychological thriller and like a horror movie, but I had to include it on this list because it's one of my favorites, and I don't feel like I see a lot of people talking about it ever. This came out in 2015, and it is great. Like, when I think of like perfect like psychological thrillers, it is this movie, and that is The Invitation. This movie has Logan Marshall Green in it, which is enough for me to be seated in it in itself, but it is so good, and like, this is just truly a good fucking movie. Like psychological thrillers, this one is a must, and I love the ending of this movie as well. Okay, so next movie, I wanted to include it on here because I did want to include an actual scary movie and not just like something like fun to throw on, because I do get asked this question quite often, and that is, what is like the scariest movie you've ever seen? And while I don't think that this movie is in particularly extremely scary, it is disturbing, and it's the only horror movie to ever make me cry, and that is Martyrs, the 2008 one, not the American remake, let that be known. It is the French one. This one came out in 2008. I just saw this in 2020. I had putting it off for a very long time just because the things I had heard about it, it was always on everyone's like scary movie list and stuff of actual genuinely scary movies, and this one is definitely horrific movie. This is not for the faint of heart. If you don't like disturbing movies or anything like that, do not watch this. Again, I watch everything under the sun. I've seen every single horror movie basically. This is the only horror movie to ever make me cry because of something that I saw on the screen. That how you will. It is not for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart. If you don't like those kind of movies, don't watch this, but I wanted to include it on here because this is a question I get asked probably the most when it comes to movies. And yeah, basically I'll read a description. It is a young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tortured her as a child, lead her and her best friend, who is also a victim of child abuse, on a terrifying journey into a living hell. If you do want to read about the movie, you can. There will be trigger warnings and stuff in the description if you want to read more about it, just so you kind of know like what you're getting into. But this is definitely probably the most horrific movie I've ever seen. It's definitely one of those one and dones, never watch again kind of movies, and yeah, it's really good. It's a really good movie. It's just truly disturbing and horrific. It's something not as horrific. Annabelle Creation. I hate the original Annabelle, and then there's another Annabelle. Which one is it? Annabelle, what is it? Returns? What is it? Comes Home? I don't like those two. But Annabelle Creation is actually really good. I rewatched it the other day, and it actually has a lot of jump scares in it, and it's a fun movie. It's really good. I like the kid actors in here, and I think the story of Annabelle Creation is really good as well. It's not super scary, but the jump scares in here are really fun and enough for me to put it on this list. It's definitely one of the better movies in the Conjuring universe, that is for sure. The Conjuring universe definitely has duds, like bad duds, but Annabelle Creation is one of the better ones, if not probably the best one in like next to the Conjuring series. So okay, so we're getting towards the end of the list now, and this next one is so good, and another one that I don't hear many people talk about, and that is Maniac. This has Elijah Wood, and I love Elijah Wood, and I especially love him in horror movies. He is just so good at being scary. I don't know what it is, but I love him in this movie, and this movie is genuinely very creepy. So I'll give you the description from the movie. It says, as a young artist helps with her upcoming exhibit, the owner of a mannequin shop's deadly suppressed desires come to the surface. This is a very good like horror psycho kind of movie, and Elijah Wood just plays a crazy person very great. Very, very good. Next one is The Others. I think I saw this in theaters. I remember if I didn't see it in theaters, then I had seen it right after it came out, but I was very young when I saw this. It came out in 2001, so if I did see it in theaters, I was 6. And this has my Lord and Savior Nicole Kidman in it. I love Nicole Kidman so much. This movie genuinely scared me as a kid. It is so creepy, and even watching it now, I rewatched it recently, it still holds up. It's still a good horror movie, and the kids in that freaking movie are so damn creepy. Kids are scary. Kids are scary, so I love scary kids in movies. Nicole Kidman is a smash. She is a delight in this movie, and she just is, it's so good. This one is The Faculty. This came out in '98. This is a true like 90s horror movie. All the like 90s heartthrobs are in here. It's another Elijah Wood. I love Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett, Clay Duvall, Jordana Brewster. It's very, very 90s. This is such a good, like, fun horror movie. I love watching this with like a group of people. Robert Rodriguez directed this movie. It is a good time. Like, you know what you're getting into when you say a 1998 horror movie, you know? But genuinely, this is really good. This is actually one of my mom's favorite movies as well. So when I watch it, it's very nostalgic for me. Okay, so next movie, I put Seed of Chucky. I still stand by that as the best Chucky movie ever, but I put that one in my last video. So for this one, I'm putting Bride of Chucky, because if it's not going to be Seed of Chucky, it's going to be this one. Bride of Chucky is fantastic, so good, and while I do think that like Seed of Chucky is like so funny and like stupid and like that's why I love it so much. Bride of Chucky is actually like a really good one. It still has those like funny, stupid moments in it. I feel like this one is definitely more like a scarier movie than Seed of Chucky, whereas Seed of Chucky, it's like, it's so bad that it's fantastic. Bride of Chucky is a classic and it's a must watch every Halloween season. And last but not least, because I will stand by this movie until the day that I die, I do not care what anybody says about all of these movies, and that is Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity changed the course of the universe. I don't care what anybody says about Paranormal Activity because it is so good. 2 is also great. 3 is just as good. Also, I love the marked ones. I could sit here and talk about how Paranormal Activity like changed like the horror genre forever after this, but I will not bore you to death. But I will stand by that. I love Paranormal Activity. It's definitely a must watch every Halloween season. Not even Halloween. I will put this movie on all the time. I am a die-hard Paranormal Activity stan. Can we all agree that this movie is a classic now? Like, it's past the time. It's been how many years? She changed lives. Right, so that is my list. I'm so excited that I did another one this year. These videos make me so genuinely happy. I could talk about horror movies for days. You'll let me? I would like never shut up about horror movies, truly. So I love being able to film these videos and just share my opinions with them, whether they're controversial or not. You don't have to agree with them, but I just love being able to share my list with you guys and make them. And I know a lot of you guys like always ask me for recommendations when it comes to horror movies, so I love being able to like provide a list for you. And like I said, these are mostly like fun, sit around the TV with your friends, make some cookies kind of movies. But there are some like genuinely scary movies, you know, but yeah, these are like truly the movies that like put me in a Halloween mood, and then I just want to like kick back and be in like PJs and, you know, those kind of movies. So yeah, I'll link the list on my letterbox and also for my Halloween Instagram down below for you guys if you want to check it out. But yeah, anyways, happy October. I hope you guys are all in the spooky mood. Thank you guys so much for watching and letting me be able to film videos like this for you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.